And I just want to preface this by saying, so I went through this on a number of different deals, underwriting it for all my active deals, and then all my deals I'm looking with buyers. I've started underwriting using this for CMHC. The interesting thing is that if you compare it to deals that either I own or buildings I own or you own, or the new guidelines are actually really fair on pricing.
Welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Today, Jake and I are talking about the new CMHC guideline changes for multifamily.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, because this affects real estate investors. This affects a lot of Jake's clients dealing with people who buy buildings that are wood framed anywhere from 6 units and more, right?
Yeah, commercial.
So anything that would fall under commercial guidelines, which is going to be your, I guess CMHC will take on after 5 units.
Correct.
5 units and up. So let's go through some of the basics. I found an article just really breaking down the premiums, and the interesting part here is just the table. Jake, first off, high level thoughts on what the changes were.
Well, yeah. So this is, and I don't want to call this old news because it came out a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah, I think it was May news.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the commercial world, if you're not actively doing it, you might not know.
No, and I still have people calling that don't know about this. But I'm actually really happy that we're doing it now, because I've seen now how this directly affects deals. Yeah. Rather than just talking about it and saying, well, here's the numbers.
Yeah.
Andrew,
so high level.
I'm actually talking about how this is affecting a deal. So super high level. There's an increase in the fees. Right, the CMHC fees, and you can
see that here on my screen,
and the premiums for the insurance. Right, that's, in my opinion, not the end of the world. Okay, so that's going to increase your mortgage amount because some of your premiums get built into your mortgage.
Yeah, because you're adding onto the fees. So we'll
your mortgage payments are going to be slightly higher, and then your CMHC application fees, that's due on submission. And again, that's not the end of the world. They're slightly higher. It still makes sense to go down the road of doing this.
And you can't get the application fees back, obviously. What's the ballpark for the application fee? Is it like a half a point or something like that?
No, it's a per door amount.
Okay, so let's just take a quick look at some of the examples of changes. So up to a 75% loan to value on the standard rental housing pricing guide. They used to have a premium at 2.5%, and now that premium has gone up to 3.35%. So the increase is about 0.85%, and you can look at that. That's actually across the board. It's a 0.85% increase on, and then in the MLI Select program, it's 1.55% increase on the premium. So if you're doing $1 million deal, what are we adding on? We're adding on an extra $15,000. Yeah. So it's not, like you said, not the end of the world, but it does impact your overall payment because it's being added to the mortgage.
And that's exactly it, right? Yeah. So high level there, they're getting more out of it. Okay, great. Again, if you're going with CMHC financing, the fees are going to work anyways, or you're not going to go CMHC financing, right? So that's not the end of the world.
You're going to just build that into your numbers. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Just like we do with interest rates.
Yeah. And then so the bigger effect I've seen, Andrew, is actually on the new expense guidelines, right? So CMHC has certain underwriting criteria that they require to put a deal in. And that's why a lot of the time you'll hear from clients, they go, oh, CMHC never gives me my value, or they always undercut my value, or this and that, right? And you hear that time and time again. I'm sure everybody has, right? And that's purely based on the expense underwriting guidelines.
Right. And this is something that was sent to you by a trusted mortgage broker in our network. And these are basically the guideline updates. Do you know where this was sourced from originally, or...
Yes, CMHC sends it out.
So CMHC had sent this out.
Yeah, I had the old one as well. It looked very similar, just different numbers on it.
Right. Okay. So we'll go through some of the stuff here. I know you got the paper format. I have this up on the screen now. So we've got taxes. So basically, this is wood frame buildings, 11 units or less. Yeah. So we know we can go as low as 5 units to fit
and it's really
commercial.
Interesting, Andrew. I'll just stop you there and say it's really interesting that they've actually differentiated between the wood frame and the concrete construction.
Yeah. Well, you'll see concrete's more, right? So this might factor into your gameplay here. Yeah. Because if you're thinking about what's being factored in and how I'm going to qualify, you may now consider what type of building am I buying? Because
it's not a small change.
It's not,
especially from where it was. So
let's show it. So maintenance and repair, for instance, you have 830 PUPA. What is PUPA?
Per unit.
Per unit. Okay, so then let's go down to concrete. You're 9 75.
Yeah.
So not
And
a
that's-
small difference.
and-
Well, it's $100.
But let me know,
150.
that's up from 750 a
Up from
unit.
750 across the board.
Across
so
the
they were
board.
all the same, and now they are no longer.
So you're going from 750 a unit
Yeah.
to 975 a unit.
Yeah.
Right.
So for anyone who uses my spreadsheet to underwrite deals, when you're looking at a deal and you're trying to figure out your numbers, or any other spreadsheet for that matter, you could actually build in these assumptions to see how you would stand with CMHC. So they're going to look at your taxes, your insurance, and your utilities at actual value for under 11 units wood frame. Maintenance and repairs is that $830 per unit. Management, they want 4.25 of effective gross income. So that's after their maintenance or their vacancy allowance.
And that's up 0.25. So it used to be 4 even.
Okay, so it's up a bit.
Yeah.
Salaries, that's them just figuring you have a site super or you're going to have to employ somebody to do stuff around the building. $555 per unit. So if you're a 10-unit building, that's a $5,000 expense that's being built on, or $5,550. And then replacement reserve. Just explain this to me a little bit, Jake. What are we looking at here?
Yeah. So what they're asking for is they're saying they want $60 per appliance: fridge, stove, dishwasher, dryer.
Is this a per year reserve that you have to put in?
Per year, per
okay.
unit.
Okay,
right?
Per year per unit. So you're going to add up all your fridges, stoves,
So all your fridges,
dishwashers.
all your stoves. Then you're looking at 190 for heat pump air conditioned systems.
Yeah.
Right. So I think this specifically came in because everybody's
was going, especially with MLI.
With
Select.
MLI, yeah. They were just putting that in. They're saying, well, let's not penalize, but let's cover that because the old one didn't have that.
Yeah,
right?
and I can tell you that they break.
They do.
From my own
I have a
experience.
broken one in my garage right now. It
break.
doesn't work.
I prefer the old fireplace.
Yeah, and then elevator $300 a month.
Yeah,
per
so
elevator.
elevators differentiated here. If you go down there to the concrete construction, we see under maintenance and repair, it's actually including the elevator maintenance. So it's not going to be under that replacement reserve.
Yeah.
Because actually elevators do need a fair bit of maintenance on them.
Yeah.
And then let's just look at the general difference between under 11 units and 12 units and more.
Yeah, I don't see a difference here.
Is it just exactly the same?
I
They've
see,
differentiated, but there is no difference.
I don't see a difference here between them.
Yeah. These look to be exactly the same. So for some reason they've categorized it separately, but they're not. They're not any different. So really, the decision, or maybe a factor that will come into consideration, is the structure of your building. I mean, I think it's kind of funny that they're making concrete that much more when concrete is going to last a lot longer than wood framing.
And that's the thing, right? So like historically, everybody's always been like, oh, buy concrete.
But working with concrete's harder.
And I think that's what they're saying here, right? They're saying that, hey, something goes wrong in stick frame, you can cut a hole in the wall, fix the framing, patch it up, and you're good to go. Something goes wrong with concrete, it's not exactly the same.
Okay.
And I think that's where they're trying to draw these higher fees from.
Yeah.
Because when something goes wrong, it's going to cost you much more.
All right. So now that we've gone through the nitty gritty, Jake, high level, how do you think this is impacting multifamily buyers?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and I just want to preface this by saying, so I went through this on a number of different deals, underwriting it for all my active deals and then all my deals I'm looking with buyers. I've started underwriting using this for CMHC. The interesting thing is that if you compare it to deals that either I own or buildings I own or you own, or the new guidelines are actually really fair on pricing.
Yeah, they're fair on pricing.
So I don't
like
wanna,
paying 4.25% for management. Most people are paying more.
Most people are paying more, right?
Yeah.
But even if you look at like $555 for salaries, right? Well, if we replace salaries with, let's call it general maintenance of the building, right? Snow removal, landscaping, things like that. It actually adds up quite well, right? So so I think you know they did their research here, and I'm saying that because I don't want to come out and say these numbers are all bogus and this is nonsense. They're just trying to kill the market.
They were sort of understated before.
They were
and remain understated now.
Yeah,
like as a conservative investor, I might actually pad my numbers up a bit to cover the what ifs. But I like that they categorize replacement reserve. So we're looking at things that are going to break and need to be replaced on an annual basis, in addition to a maintenance amount that is just like repainting units as they turn over and broken faucets that need to be replaced.
And it's a good practice, right? Even if you're not going with CMHC, to look at these numbers and say, hey, I should be running my performas like this
to make sure my deal
I run every
flow.
performa like this, right?
And it's probably a good habit to get into, and also to know exactly if you can finance somebody. And so you're going to have to qualify with a 1.1 ratio, 1.1
for
to
MLI
1
Select.
For MLI Select.
And then traditional is going to be 1.2.
Okay. All right. So if anyone wants to talk to Jacob and potentially work with Jacob on some of his off-market product, you've been kind enough to provide a link where people can enter their info. That's below in the description.
As always.
Yeah. And guys, if you made it this far, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment. And hey, if you think this video would help somebody, or if you have somebody who's thinking about getting into multifamily and wants to know more, share this with them.
Share the video, send the link, right? And we can talk about this in so much more depth. But today we wanted to give a really quick snapshot of what this new guideline looks like.
Short and sweet. Okay, we'll see you next week to review a deal.